Hey Tube of Views, this is Lee. Welcome to the channel, the station, the internet, whatever. I'm going to try to show you what I do, and then I'm going to try to tell you what I'm doing while I'm doing it, and then I'm going to try the ultimate test and show you somebody listening to me doing what I do. And there's an extra little twist in this because there was a challenge thrown down by a fellow detailer, and I was all the willing to accept it. So sit back, grab something to drink. I'll be right with you. This first part is just a bonus. Hey YouTube, watched a video by a guy, I think his name's Drake, and he shows you, quote, how to clean out a pad or how to spur one out, and he uses the tip of a plastic wax bottle. That's great if you want to impart a bunch of melted plastic onto your pad and make it scratchy and worthless real quick. So here's how I do it. I do actually spool up the pad as fast as I can go because I need that. And use this guy. Hold your breath. Close your eyes. Fluff it up. Nice and soft. Now, let's do a compound pad. Alright, same thing. You see how bad this is? Nasty. You don't want these clumps spinning around in your boat. They're like balls of clay. So if you're getting to the point where you're finishing, you're compounding, those balls of clay are still breaking down. They're slowing down your work. Fast. Now, you can assume that I have a respirator on. You can also assume that my ex knows how to tell the truth in court. Sorry, I digress. Anyway, typically when I'm spurring out a pad, I go until I stop seeing a plume of dust kick off. And again, none of this is good for you, so try to not breathe any in if you can avoid it. Thanks. Alright, now that we got that out of the way, let's get to this whole challenge BS that I was talking about. So the other day, I had done this with a wool pad, and one of my guys said that I couldn't do it swirl free from front to back, and if I did, he'd buy lunch, and if I did, then he'd buy lunch. So I took on the challenge, but then he said, but you don't get to wipe it off to check because that's cheating, because then you can just redo it and we'll never know if it was swirly. To which I said, fine, I got you. I'll be your huckleberry. So I decided to use a wool pad, and just to really aggravate the guy, I used heavy cut. That's right, I said it. Heavy cut on black Gelcoat. Oh my, what's that? That's the sun. That's the sun right there, bruh. Oh my goodness. Look at that. Yeah, and that was just the tip of the iceberg for this guy. FYI, in case you don't want to watch the whole video, I got free lunch, yo! When I said by tip of the iceberg, what I was alluding to was that I was going to use a foam pad with heavy cut on this entire boat, not wiping off the residue after I was finished. Why? Because I trust myself. I trust this technique so much that I didn't need to wipe it off. I knew what was under there. So sit back and just kind of watch this. I'm not going to really be able to tell you what I'm doing or anything like that, and I don't really want to right now. Just watch. Next segment, I actually talk about what I'm doing. All right, one more thing. A lot of YouTube detailers like to speed up the process when they're, quote, showing you what to do. How can you actually see what it doesn't, look, I want you to see how fast and how slow I'm going. I want you to hear the machine. I want you to see what I'm seeing as I'm seeing it. So that's why I show you this. If you don't want to watch this part, fast forward the next segment. Like I said, I'm going to be talking about it, and then the next segment we're going to be showing somebody else doing it. So stop watching the guys who fast forward through everything if they're trying to show you how to do it. Trust me, those guys don't know what they're doing. Yeah, well, sometimes wind happens. Anyway, so I got finished with the side of the boat, and as you can see, it's gorgeous. I love the way this looks. I wish someday a boat owner came to me and said, hey, tackle my 30 to 100 foot boat, and it's all black, and I want it to have all the swirls and stuff that you can possibly put in it, and maybe do a pattern and write your name. That would be amazing. I would love to see this on the water, except for when I see it done accidentally. And it's done accidentally by almost every detailer I've ever met or seen on YouTube, which is why they instantly go from their wool pad to their foam pad to their DA to their forced rotation to their Q-tip to their whatever. 18 steps later, they might get to a flawless finish. You know how many steps I take? Dos, amigos. 2. That's it. 2. How do I know? I haven't wiped this off, so clearly there could be some stuff hiding in there that I'm unaware of. Time will tell. On a less toot my own horn stroke, I would like to say that I do like the way these lines look, and I would enjoy doing a boat like this someday, especially black gel coat. I think it would look awesome. Not as random with the pattern, but definitely something cool. Anyway, I would have gotten these same results with a wool pad. I chose to use the foam pad because I didn't have a chance to wipe any of this off and double check my work, and I wanted to make sure that it was solid. I've always known that foam is kind of a go-to if you want to make sure that it's absolutely perfect. There are some risks involved. You can heat up the surface quite quickly. You can burn through decals quite easily. The foam pads don't generally last very long on a boat just because there are things that protrude that, oddly enough, it catches on and tears the foam pads apart. That being said, you're going to see some scratches in the far right side. I believe those are from the rag that I was using. This is a Costco microfiber rag. And the reason that the swirl mark that you see on the left side and the upper left-hand side of your screen moves around is because it's not picking up all the oil each time I wipe it. But I like to use rags that have a nice borderless edge to them and are very plush. That way I don't get these scratches that you see in the right-hand side. And even though the scratches are just in the oils left behind, I don't like it, and that's all I really need to know. While this might look pretty good, I agree it does look pretty good, this is in the shade, and it's a dark gel coat boat, so the reflection is going to give you the illusion that it's brighter and sharper than it would be if it was a white boat. I assure you, in fact, I promise you, the things that I do to a black boat, and the reason almost always I put them on YouTube, is to impress upon you that this is possible with a wool pad or a foam pad. This is a foam pad with heavy cut. Heavy cut by 3M and a foam pad. Ding! Anyway, you can get this with a wool pad, you can get this with a foam pad. It doesn't really matter what pad you use. It matters how you use the things that you use. How do you use the compounds? How do you use the wheels? That's where what I do comes into play. I guess you could call this next part a bonus. Mostly though, it's for me. Sorry. And yeah, if your boat were white, it would have this level of shine. You might not be able to see it, but it would be there. So if I can do this to a black boat, imagine what can be done on a white one. If you like to wet sand before you do anything that I just did, tackle that. If you like to repaint or re-vinyl wrap boats, I'd say go ahead and tackle this little decal there if you wanted to. There's some other scratches and dings a little forward. There's a couple in the hull underneath the waterline. There you go. Some scratches, some dings I wasn't able to get out, but mostly I was able to. That is really rare, by the way, to accidentally pour a smiley face. So apparently I tried to celebrate it by putting 9 of them on. Alright, so basically start off crosscut, left, right, use the 3 o'clock, the 9 o'clock, the 3 o'clock, the 9 o'clock. And you'll notice that as I'm spreading it out, it starts off kind of milky white on the surface. That's fine, and I'm going to keep crisscross cutting until it changes a little bit. And now it's not doing that milky white thing so much. Now you're going to see me do some different stuff. This is where I'm going to tackle my edges. This little corner edge up here needs a lot of loving. Most people neglect it, and after it starts to fade out in a couple months, you might find that that's the place that it starts to fade out first, and that to me is kind of annoying. So I'm going flat and I'm just working the product into the surface and against the surface, and I'm looking at the results of each pass. I'm looking in front of the buffer and behind the buffer, and there's no pattern. There's no pre-prescribed pattern. It's just me and a ton of gray hair. Obviously, I didn't have that 14 and a half years ago. Another wonderful gift from my ex. Anyway, I'm watching what I'm doing. Unlike some YouTube detailers who constantly watch the camera almost as often as they watch their work. I'm not exactly sure how that guy does it. Maybe it's all the Adderall and cocaine. Just saying. Anyway, so back and forth, and I am looking for some very specific things in the swirl. In that little white line that you see after like following my buffer, I'm looking for very specific things. Now, I'm not going to tell you what they are. You can figure it out on your own, or you can come to a class and I'll teach you. But it's the reason that I can do an entire boat like this without wiping anything off. Because once I see those things, I know. That's it. Let's move on. And here's one of those big, fluffy, borderless towels that I like. Now, you can get them on Amazon, Alibaba.com. I don't know where you get them. Just go find some. Now, you guys remember Herbert? Last year, Herbert was just starting out doing boats. And he's working the camera right now, and I'm trying to use this towel to hide the sun from the camera so that you don't get that big flare going through the lens. Here he is, for the very first time, trying a foam pad on black gel coat using heavy cut. He's also the guy that challenged me to lunch, so I thought it only appropriate that if he's going to buy me lunch, he should get something out of it too. So a little bit of an education on how to use a foam pad with heavy cut compound on a black boat. Enjoy. All right, so right now he's just kind of blending in those two sections, the big flat and that little corner that he did. On his very last pass, he's going to be moving from left to right towards the bottom of his push there. And when he does something that I've only seen car guys do, and I have to imagine it has something to do with ego. You guys got some sort of finesse, some machismo that you want to show off. So after doing all the work that we just did to get a nice flat, flawless finish, you go and put a little teeny swirl in it. Hello? Hello? Anyway, he did a really good job, and I think the boat came out great. There's that flare I was trying to hide from you. This is a little bit too shallow of an angle to catch the sun in that particular panel. I apologize. Trust me, it looked great. All right, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. If you have a question, throw it in the comment section. Throw me a thumbs up if you liked the video. And if you didn't like the video, go ahead and give me a thumbs down, but at least man up and put something in the comment section, yo.